Good evening, you are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. Langkawi to be open to fully vaxxed foreign tourists soon. And ahead of Budget 2022, what measures can we explore to spur recovery of the property sector? That's coming up. In a statement, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob announced that Johor and Terengganu will shift to Phase 4 from Phase 3 of the National Recovery Plan starting October 25th. These states will join Selangor, Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya, Pahang, Negeri Sembilan, Melaka and Labuan. Meanwhile, Penang, Perlis, Perak, Kelantan, Kedah, Sabah and Sarawak are still under Phase 3. There are no states under Phase 1 or 2 of the NRP. Fully vaccinated teenagers will get to enjoy perks similar to the adult population, with the government giving a grace period of 3 weeks to coordinate related facilities before this comes into force. The period is given to ensure that about 80% of adolescents who have received their first dose would have completed their vaccination. The vaccination program for adolescents started on September 20th. As of yesterday, 80.2% of the adolescents' population has received at least one dose of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine in less than 2 months. The government has also agreed with the proposed standard operating procedures for foreign workers entering the country, especially to meet the needs of the plantation sector. The SOPs will be enforced on all approved sectors, while foreign workers will be allowed entry on a case-by-case basis by the Foreign Workers Committee jointly chaired by the Human Resources and Home Ministers. Among the SOPs for entry of foreign workers are that they are fully vaccinated, perform a RT-PCR COVID-19 screening test 72 hours prior to leaving the country of origin, and undergo a 7-day mandatory quarantine period at a government-certified quarantine centre around the Klang Valley. Fully vaccinated foreign visitors may visit Langkawi without needing to undergo a COVID-19 quarantine from November 15th. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the COVID-19 Pandemic Management Special Committee has agreed with the SOP presented by the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture to implement the international tourism bubble for inbound tourists there. Among the SOPs are fully vaccinated visitors must have at least $80,000 insurance coverage and hail from a list of countries approved by the Immigration Department, Health Ministry and the Foreign Ministry. Children under the age of 18 must be present with their parents or guardians who have been fully vaccinated. Visitors must also stay for a minimum of 3 days, and that the non-quarantine flexibility only applies for the Langkawi trip. They must also undergo the RT-PCR COVID-19 test 3 days before departure, the results of which must be presented either in digital or printed form. Another RT-PCR test is also required 3 days before returning to their countries. Travel services by tour operator licensed under MOTAC would be made mandatory, and visitors must upload the MySejahtera application and register before departure. The pilot project will be conducted for 3 months for the Health Ministry and the National Security Council to assess its effectiveness before being implemented on resort islands as well as other tourist areas. Disciplinary action can be taken against civil servants who refuse to get vaccinated. Chief Secretary to the Government, Tan Sri Mohamad Zuki Ali, stressed that they must complete their COVID-19 vaccination by November 1st. As many civil servants have returned to office, Mohamad Zuki said those who refuse to be vaccinated will cause discomfort to their colleagues and create negative perception towards the public service. On September 30th, the Public Service Department has made it mandatory for federal civil servants to complete their vaccination by November 1st this year. Based on their findings at the time, nearly 98% of civil servants have been vaccinated, while 1.6% or 16,902 people have yet to register. The decision was made to restore confidence to the public and ensure the smooth delivery of public services to the people. Former UMNO President Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak is seeking to push his trip to Singapore to a later date in order to assist his party in the Melaka state election next month. He said he was entrusted with the responsibility because UMNO President Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi would be in Germany to seek treatment for his spine injuries during the state election process. Najib filed the application at the High Court here yesterday. He applied for the dates of temporary release and return of his impounded passport to be amended from October 20th and November 22nd respectively to October 25th and December 6th for him to visit his daughter, Nuriana Najwa, in Singapore, as she is expected to give birth to a second child in early November. In the supporting affidavit, Najib said that the Court of Appeal had on October 18th granted him temporary custody of his passport from October 20th to November 22nd for him to visit his daughter in Singapore. However, with the Malacca state election to be held on November 20th and nomination on November 8th, Najib said he had to change his plan and would leave for Singapore on November 21st and return to Malaysia on December 5th or earlier, and to return his passport to the court on December 6th at the latest. We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Honor 50. Mencipta tanpa had ketika cetusan inspirasi. Perincian teliti di depan mata. Persediaan rakaman pantas. Honor 50. Keindahan dengan satu tangkapan.
When the world was changing for photographic film, we helped change the world as a pioneer of the digital age. In healthcare, we're expanding what's possible with advanced technology. But why stop there when we can focus our AI and IoT expertise on business innovation, helping tackle some of the toughest challenges in the workplace? When it comes to innovating for a healthier world and a more sustainable society, we'll never stop. Fujifilm, value from innovation.
Walau cabaran kita belum di penghujungnya, tapi gelanggang ini kita punya dan kita dah siap bersemangat menghadapinya. Bertenaga semula dengan Red Bull Gold, kekal hebat dengan Red Bull Plus.
Welcome back. Malaysia's property sector, like many industries, has been badly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. We speak to Property Guru Country Manager Sheldon Fernandez on what's slowing the recovery of this sector and their wish list for Budget 2022 to get the property market back on its feet.
We see two particular factors. One is the increasing difficulty in obtaining bank loans, given all the current challenges. And that's obviously affected the confidence, and that confidence is obviously lower in the market, given that there's also an economic stability as well. So this resulted really in terms of the total number of residential property transactions in the first quarter of 2021 dropped by 44.7% compared to the same period last year. Now, we also see a declining trend in terms of property asking prices since the second quarter of 2020. So, it's further down back with a year-on-year drop of 2.16%. And this is according to our Property Guru Asking Price Index, where we measure all asking price given the more than 500,000 listings we have on the site.
Sheldon outlined several measures that may stimulate recovery quicker for the sector.
And now some of the things that can be done really is extending the home ownership campaign, which is a very successful government campaign right up to 2022, but also includes sub-sale properties. Second is obviously extending the exemption of RPGT onto residential homes to 2022, or even revising it downwards, because this obviously can stimulate the property market by encouraging buying and selling of residential homes, given it's a very attractive incentive. Third thing I think we could do is provide some income tax relief on interest accrued by home loans, after the moratorium ends. And that has been a hot topic, the moratorium, and that's really helped a lot of people. But this would certainly help ease the household burden of those in need. And last but not least, I think one of the things that we could do is obviously introducing rental incentives to benefit tenants and landlords, because, with financial incentives through landlords and tenants that can be claimed by either party or even the landlord for the matter, who provide rent reduction to tenants impacted by the COVID-19.
The 12 Malaysia Plan has identified sustainability as a priority in the country's long-term development plan. We take a closer look at sustainability in the real estate segment and if property players see the value in going green.
Really, to spur this component of sustainability is additional tax reduction, maybe to encourage developers to adopt green certification tools, right? This is so that the developers can benefit from the tax deductions equivalent to the additional capital expenditure needed to obtain a green certification, because we know there's additional cost when it comes to building long-term green sustainable developments. So you want to incentivize that. And this goes very well in line with what the property seekers are looking for, which is much more usable, practical, and sustainable space, given the nature of the experience of home living that they have gone through. Work from home, new trends, etc. The other thing, obviously, is stamp duty exemption for buyers of green certificate properties. So it's not just the supply side, but also the demand side, because, as I said, the cost of constructing is typically higher than traditional buildings, but even the differences are covered in the long run. This might deter home buyers from making the purchase, right?
Thailand will allow quarantine-free entry to travellers from 46 countries, including the US, UK, China, as well as Malaysia, starting November 1st. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha said he aspires to attract foreign tourists to stimulate the tourism industry hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Among other low-risk countries, according to Thailand's classification, are Australia, Germany, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Japan, South Korea, and Hong Kong. Thailand will also add more low-risk countries to the list on December 1st and January 1st. As of November 1st, visitors will still need to show proof of a negative RT-PCR test taken before departure. They also must take another COVID test upon arrival. Tourists from countries not on the list will be able to visit Thailand but must undergo quarantine. A 7-day quarantine is needed for those arriving by air and a 10-day order for those arriving by sea.
A woman has died and a man has been injured after Hollywood actor Alec Baldwin fired a prop gun on a New Mexico film set for the 19th century Western movie Russ. Police said sheriff's deputies were dispatched to Bonanza Creek Ranch, a popular filming location, after receiving an emergency call about a shooting on the set. Helena Hutchins, director of photography, and Joel Souza, director, were shot when a prop firearm was discharged by Alec Baldwin, producer and actor. Hutchins was flown to hospital by helicopter but died of her injuries, while Souza was receiving emergency care. According to investigators, it appears that the scene being filmed involved the misfiring of a prop gun with blanks. The investigation remains open and active, but no charges were filed. New Zealand will end its strict COVID-19 lockdown measures and restore more freedoms only when 90% of its population is fully vaccinated. After abandoning the elimination strategy and switching to living with the virus, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said the 90% target could be reached within a matter of weeks. The new plan requires each of 20 health districts in New Zealand to reach the 90% vaccination goal. Ardern said reaching the target would make the country one of the most vaccinated countries in the world. Currently, some 68% of eligible New Zealanders are fully vaccinated and 86% have had one dose. Ardern explained when the vaccine target is reached, the country will move into a new traffic light system to manage outbreaks in regions. Vaccine certificate will be central to the new system, which will also use 3 settings, green, orange and red, to manage fresh outbreaks and cases. Earlier this month, the WHO approved the world's first malaria vaccine. Will this mark the beginning of the end for the disease? Tonight on Consider This, we asked our guests about the importance of this breakthrough and the challenges still ahead. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news update on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and the Astro AWANI app. I'm Farhana Sheikh. Thank you for watching.